Hi guys, it's Jen from Beauty's a Bookworm. So today we have a slightly different themed video. This is a mommy video. This is not beauty related. This is all about how I got my 6-month-old on a sleeping schedule that worked for all of us, including her. Disclaimer, this is in reference to, and I hate this phrase, but the cry it out method. This is not for everyone. I understand this goes against every instinct that we have. It sets all of our alarms off to hear our child cry and to ignore them. So if this is not the kind of thing that you are interested in, or if you are completely against, I'm just telling you now so you don't waste your time watching this video. However, I also will say what's in our mind that's going to happen is not as bad as what actually happens. So, having said that, let me give you a little bit of backstory. I have 2 older children. My son is 10 and my daughter's 9. My son was an amazing sleeper from day one. Slept in his crib, in a bassinet, wherever, was just a champ. Then my daughter comes along, who is 9 years old, and she could have been a great sleeper. However, the rooms were connected in a way that they had an open doorway connecting their rooms. So I was so scared of waking him up by her crying or whatever that I slept in a bed with her for almost the first year of her life. I nursed, so I was like, oh, this is easy. I had a C-section, so I'm like, oh, I just told myself it'll just be easier to sleep with her and nurse her and all this stuff. And it was for a while. But after so many months of not getting legit, real, body and mind repairing sleep, something's gotta give. Cry it out is the last method that I ever want to try. To listen to your child scream, like I said, just goes against every instinct that we have. So I fully understand why people do not want to do this. They think it's awful, they think it's cruel. I get it. You know your child best. If they have this gut-wrenching scream that you swear is ripping apart their throat, or whatever, or it sets an alarm off that you didn't even know you had, go get your baby. Your baby, you're the parent, you do whatever you want. This was my story. After so many months of doing this, I was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I feel like a walking zombie. About over the course of a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, from the first night, which, of course she screamed like a banshee, but my daughter was normally a screamer anyway for a while. I wouldn't even call her colicky, but she was definitely a screamer. A high needs baby, let's call her that. So this scream from her wasn't like, oh my God, is she okay? I knew she was fine, but of course it broke my heart. I sat outside her door until she fell asleep crying with her. Every night this crying would go down. So fast forward 2 weeks, ended up sleeping like a champ. Ever since, she's been a great sleeper. Fast forward again, almost 10 years later, to my daughter Leela, who you may or may not have seen in a few of my videos. She just turned 10 months, August 29th. I'm sorry, 10 months. I don't even know how old my baby is. She just turned 6 months, August 29th. She's a wonderful baby, but same thing. She slept with me up until almost 2 weeks ago. And it was the same exact thing as with my oldest daughter. She, I nursed her all night. She would dream feed. Same thing. I was just so, you get to the point where you're so exhausted, you can't function as a human being. You just can't. And some people can. Some people are totally fine laying with their baby for, a year, 2 years, nursing them throughout the night. They can still sleep and function and feel fine. I'm not one of those people. And I sound selfish. It's not just for me. It's for my child too, because I'm trying to get her to be able to self-soothe so she also gets good sleep, which babies definitely need, especially at this age. So, our sleep training began Sunday, August 28th. And it was perfect because my oldest 2 were just so happened to leave that morning for a vacation with my mom. So I was like, this is perfect. I don't have to worry about her crying, waking them up, blah, blah, blah. So we started our new routine, which is what they encourage you to do, is start a routine at night. So our routine was, okay, her last nap ended, I want to say around 4 that afternoon. So she had been up for, a good 3 hours, and around 6:50 we started our new routine. So I started to feed her. So I would nurse her, and I think I nursed her for about 10-15 minutes. She's an efficient nurser, so she's never been one of those babies who just nursed forever. Now nursing is what our sleeping association was, meaning she couldn't sleep without me nursing her. I would nurse her to bed and I would nurse her for a nap. So that's all, the only thing she knew how to fall asleep was during nursing. So this is what I needed to separate from bedtime, from sleeping in general. So I nursed her first, and then afterwards I gave her about a 10-15 minute bath, and after that I read her like 3 little, you know, baby books. So I probably read for about 10 minutes. So for me, that was a good enough start to separate the nursing from bed. So the last thing we did together as part of our routine was read and say our prayers. Then came the moment of reckoning. I believe me, for weeks up to this point, I was like petrified of doing this, but I knew it had to be done. So I hand her off to Daddy, and it is his job to put her in her crib. Now in her room, she has blackout curtains and a white noise machine. Both those things are very, they're not crucial, but I mean, for us, our room was always dark where she slept with us, so I wanted to continue that, so it wouldn't be like, oh God, I'm all alone, what do I do? The noise machine was a norm for us, we had one in our room, so I figured this was possibly an easier transition. So Daddy puts her in her room, gives her a kiss, puts her down, and is in charge of the baby monitor. Mommy goes outside with a glass of wine and does not subject herself to listen to her crying daughter, who immediately, when you hear that baby cry, you want to go get that baby. Daddy's a little more, he doesn't give in. So I'm like, okay, you're the one who has to do this, so you stay inside and you listen to her cry. I was outside for maybe not even half an hour, and he comes down and he says, she's not really crying. It's not bad crying. I don't even think that she's crying tears. I think she's just yelling. So I listened for a second, and he was right. Like, she was only yelling, like, and it was on and off. It wasn't like constantly like screaming, crying. Of course, what I expected, because my oldest daughter was so awful. I expected this again. And side note, I'm thinking even a little bit helped the fact that she's younger than my older daughter was. My oldest daughter was almost 1, and Leela is just turned 6 months old. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but because I have 2 different ages I've done this on, you know, I definitely see a difference already. So then, let's see, after about 45 minutes of that on and off crying, Daddy comes back out to tell me she's asleep. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. I still feel awful about having her cry, but I'm thrilled that she's asleep now. Fast forward a few minutes to me thinking, oh shit, now I have to think about, she's used to waking up next to me all night long. So I'm in for a long night of waking up every whatever. And once again, a kind of rule of thumb is once you start this kind of sleep training, do not go in and respond to them before midnight. And mind you, there are a million ways to do this. You can go in every 5 minutes and check on them, and if sometimes they see you, they feel better. My kids don't respond to me coming in well, so I don't do that. But you can, and that works for tons of people. That didn't work for us, unfortunately. This did. So I was prepared to ignore my tiny baby for the next few hours, and then, you know, afterwards go in and feed her. She didn't wake up until 3:30 to eat. I went in, nursed her in the dark, put her back in, and she was asleep in 5 minutes, if that. So I was like, this has gotta be a fluke. Cut to her sleeping until maybe, I think it was like 6:30 she got up. So I was like, holy shit, like, that worked. And it was really easy, but I'm like, I'm not the kind of person who believes in good luck, and not a million good things happen to me usually. So I was like, well, you know, it's only the first night, who's getting who? Next night, same exact thing. But the beginning of the crying was slightly less. And this continued, and now mind you, we're not even at 2 weeks. This is still a current thing. It is, I'm gonna say it's been a week and a half, I wanna say. It's Thursday now, and this was not the past Sunday, the Sunday before, so it's almost been 2 weeks. And as of right now, she's doing amazing. Still. I'm still waiting for it to be a joke. I mean, she couldn't have just magically taken to this easy. Now, mind you, a bunch of friends have tried stuff like this as I've been trying, because they see like, oh, it's working for you, I'm gonna try it. And it's not working that well. So this is definitely not for everybody. I definitely believe consistency is key. You know, routines are very important. Not having them sleep too early, like too close to bedtime, is very important. You know, their last nap the cutoff should be, you know, 5 at the very latest, and then, you know, maybe try bedtime between 7:30 and 8. This just happens to work for us. And again, disclaimer, at no time during this process, did my child scream like that blood curdling scream that no parent can take? Because had she done that, I probably would not, this would probably not be as successful as it is. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, let your baby scream, it's fine, they're fine. That makes me feel awful, as it does every parent. You know, it is not in our biological makeup to let our child scream and feel alone and whatnot. Leela just happened to take to this beautifully. Maybe she was just ready for it too. You know, let me just say, you know, again, this isn't for everybody. You know, I hope some of these things in our process, you know, helped you or gave you some insight. I will actually list a link below that I actually read, and it taught me a lot of this stuff, and it's just amazing. So I will definitely post that link below if anybody wants to check it out. And again, you know, this isn't for everybody. This just worked for us. I know it did work for a lot of other people too, but I know a lot of other people tried different methods, gentler methods they call them, when, you know, there's no crying involved, or more hands-on methods where, you know, you go in every few minutes to soothe them. That totally works like amazingly for some children. It didn't work for mine. So I can feel like I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this video, but you know, it's okay. Like, we all have our own way of doing things. You know, I won't tell you how to parent if you don't tell me how to parent. Now we're kind of gonna get into NAPS. It was also recommended in this site article, whatever, that I had been going with. It was also recommended not to start nap training until the sleep was like completely established, you know, for a good 2 weeks. It also said, you know, babies need good naps to have good night's sleep. So whatever you need to do to give her a good night's sleep, do it. If it means nursing to sleep, if it means rocking, it means doing all those sleep associations that are telling you not to do at night, do it for naps, because their brains process naps differently than night sleep. Like, they're separated somehow, even though they're both sleep times. I guess because it's a longer stretch of sleep at night, and it's, you know, their body's clock kind of realizing, okay, I should be able to sleep longer now, and during the day it's like, okay, we're just doing a little cat nap and, you know, we should be good. So with naps, you know, I was doing normal, nursing to sleep in my room, in bed with her, and, you know, I would put her in her pack and play, which ended up being fine. But then, I want to say the Friday after we started, so about 5 days after we started, she would nurse for 2 minutes and then roll around all over the bed. And then nurse for 2 minutes and then roll around all over the bed. And this lasted almost like a little over 20 minutes. And at this point I was like, okay, I can't lay here all day with you. So I was like, all right, you know what, I'm just gonna put you in the crib and see what happens. A little bit of whining happened and she was asleep in like 10 minutes. Maybe something. I could even be off with the time, but it was definitely not what I was expecting. And we've been doing that for naps ever since. So our sleep training is going amazing. And, you know, I'm totally gonna give credit to my child because she's just taken to it great. You know, she hasn't been, like I said, screaming bloody murder, or everything that's been happening has been happening kind of like it should be for us. Side note, I'm not sleeping great now, unfortunately. I'm not reaping these benefits that are now at my disposal, but I can't sleep as long as her. And I also panic when I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, where is she? Like, I immediately think she fell off bed. But then I realize, oh, she's not in here. So then I check the monitor, and then I look at the monitor and make sure her little, I can see her breathing. And then, just to be really sure, I will go in the room and put my hand on her to make sure she's breathing. After all this happens, I, you know, try to go back to sleep, and maybe I'll fall asleep again. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh, my boobs are gonna explode. She needs to nurse soon. So I will wait for her to wake up because I don't wanna go back to sleep and then her wake me up by crying because she's hungry. Mommy hasn't learned how to sleep with this new change yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But honestly, I don't even care if I'm getting more sleep. I know I will eventually. I'm thrilled that this child is getting sleep because really, she was up like 10 times a night. This was just the best case scenario for us, and it worked amazing. Again, I'm gonna list the link below that totally saved my life. This isn't like my method. Like, this is totally like me reading and just following these rules and applying them where I need them, and it's just working. So, you know, I hope all of you, whether you find a different method or you use this one, I hope all of you somehow find a way, you know, that your child is happy, you're happy, even if it's sleeping in bed with you, nursing all night. If that's something that you know, thrive on and love and you're functioning with it, that's fantastic. You know, I loved sleeping in bed with her, but it just got to a point where it just didn't work for us anymore. That was it. I know this was kind of choppy and I was kind of all over the place, but okay, so sorry the camera cut off. So that was it. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know, every now and again I'll come out with another mommy video, but if there's any other kind of mommy videos that you'd like to see, then please list below and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if not, then I'm sorry if it bothered you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.